The Orlando Magic, you also can't underestimate their heart.
47 slap the bag 25.
Oh, we're ready. We're ready to slap the Franzia. Let's go. I'm going here. 47 last year. They expected to win 46. Second best defense in the league. Made the playoffs, pushed the Cavs, to a 7-game series. Had a very easy strength of schedule. Again, Southeast Conference can probably be expected. Jalen Suggs continues to be their point guard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm KCP. And then you're looking at Franz, Paulo, and then like some combination of Wendell Carter, Jonathan Isaac. By the way, we should feel a little bit more confidence with Jonathan Isaac, in my opinion. They saw in the playoffs. Look, Robbie's pointing.
Check it out.
Slap the bag, baby. Let's
slap the bag. 2025, we're doing it.
Did we do this last year too? I think we did.
We definitely had Orlando over. That was one of the ones that we correctly.
That was a pick.
This is a very good basketball team that got better and is the heavy favorite in my, I would also I think they're like minus 140 in the Southeast, and I would jump all over that as well for divisional win. I think they're considerably better than the Miami Heat. I understand the Heat are the Heat, and they can kind of scrounge their way around, but do people not realize how good KCP is and how
He's very good,
how perfect he fits what they need? He is. What did they need, Sam? They needed somebody that can knock down shots. They need somebody who could knock down shots and not take away from what they want to do defensively. That was the biggest need they had. They had to figure out how to thread that needle, and that's a really hard one to figure out, because when you build a team that is, we have an identity on defense, one of the hardest things to do is say, how do we upgrade the offense without losing that, right? Because we've seen it before. You go add the wrong guy to a team that is built on playing great team defense and aggressive, and if you suddenly add a very weak spot to attack, it doesn't matter how much they can kind of get you back. You're sinking. KCP was one of the best on-ball defenders last year in basketball.
Yes.
And you add him to a team that already has an elite defensive top 6 minimum. Gary Harris is still viable, and you move Gary Harris to the bench, where he's, I think, much more effective in short bursts right now. Over, dude. Over. Give me an alt over 50.5. I don't care. Push it. There's some place that'll let you do it. Let's go.
I'm glad you brought up Gary Harris. I think that's actually kind of an important name to talk about here, because last year when Gary Harris was on the court, they were a plus 3.5 team. When Gary Harris was off the court, they were a plus 1.5 team. If you look at the games where Gary Harris played, their win percentage was drastically higher. Insanely higher. When you talk next, I'll actually calculate and look what it was. But they won so many more games with Gary Harris there. KCP is an upgraded Gary Harris, and you kept Gary Harris to bring off the bench. So you get to actually play those guys, separately and have 48 minutes of those guys on the court, except, instead of 25, whatever Gary was playing last year. So yes, I agree with you. Franz Wagner last year, took a big leap, but there's still room here. He shot 28% from 3, and I don't think he's that bad of a shooter. I know he didn't shoot well at the Olympics, but I don't think he's that bad of a shooter. I'm guessing that they're going to continue to up the level that Jonathan Isaac continues to play. Because last year they were very hesitant, and rightfully so, in terms of, integrating him in and making sure that his body stays healthy. They still have Wendell Carter. They still have Mo Wagner. They still have Goga Batadze.
I couldn't believe they were able to keep all of those guys, by the way. I thought one of Mo or Goga were gone. I just assumed. So but the other thing is, they could move one of those guys and upgrade somewhere else if they need to. Those guys are going to be valuable. You talk about talk about teams that might end up needing bigs. You kind of go be hey, we got a couple.
They still have all of the kids too. And by the way, when I say kids, I'm not talking about Franz and Paulo.
No,
I'm talking
Anthony
about
Black.
like Anthony Black, Tristan Da Silva, like the younger guys that like could really step in and potentially like give them something. Tristan Da Silva, like I think could be ready to play from day one. And like, I don't have him on their 11 deep rotation right now, because I just don't know where the minutes come from within that. They still have a great backup point guard in Cole Anthony. Like, and oh, by the way, their kids, like their three best players are Paulo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and Jalen Suggs. They're all like 23 and under. I think we're like also underrating how good Paulo might be.
That was where I was going next.
Look, we put Paulo 5th on the 24 and under list, and like people complained about that. They thought it was too low. That's not because I thought Paulo like had a bad year. Like I don't think Paulo is going to be a stud. Paulo might go for like 27 and 9 this year. Like that's not impossible. So I don't know. This team to me, I said, I think on a show like a month ago that I think they win 50 and they're a top 4 seed. I think I'm that still.
Yeah. I mean, if I were like, the thing is they could still end up being the 5 seed and win 50 games this year. Like that's where I think the East is at. Like we already talked about, Milwaukee was a lean over at 50, Celtics 58 and a half. Like Celtics are going to win that many at least.
Yeah.
We had the Cavs sniffing it. We had like the Knicks. You already had, and then we got to get to the Sixers. Like that's already 5 teams plus the Magic. Like I think there's 6 teams at minimum that have a legit look at that kind of a number. Like, but I also think the wins are there because I think the bottom of the East is just going to be there for the picking. But yeah, dude, Paolo, he's already an all-star. Like he could be knocking on the door for an all NBA. Like genuinely.
I'm going through and counting what they were.
You're counting Gary Harris. But
yeah.
Like you said, but also like I think an important thing there is you can keep Gary Harris fresher by having him play less minutes off the bench. You might get more games out of him. You might get, like he can be the better version of himself. And having that with the bench units, like you said, it's just something they didn't have last year. Like you were able to play Cole Anthony and Gary Harris together rather than, like Jalen Suggs and KCP and then Cole Anthony, Gary Harris is like a hell of a 4 deep on
if I get this number wrong, Magic fans like don't freak out because I literally just like went by hand here. I believe they went 36 and 18 with Gary Harris last year, like on the team and in the lineup. He played 54 games. So you have him, you have KCP obviously, but that just says to me that like the KCP fit's going to be perfect for them. If Jalen Suggs like takes a leap as like a primary ball handler, like this whole thing, shoots into the stratosphere potentially. Yeah, like they have different ways that they can match up with you with bigs. They have different ways that they can match up with you smaller. You can go Cole Anthony if he's hot for a night. Like they have everything that they need to win a significant, substantial number of games. I think this is a 50-win team this year.